So after reading and finishing Stephen King's Needful Things, I was just like, oh fuck! Now I gotta read Cujo. After I read Cujo, I have to read The Dark Half, and God knows what else, right? Because this is the thing with Stephen King books. You read one book, you gotta read like 3 or 4 satellite books to understand all of the references, etc., etc. Because in Needful Things, there are direct references to Cujo. Okay? Now, here is the thing with Cujo. Cujo has a few problems. Now, listen. I understand why this book is the way that it is. This book, unfortunately, to me, it doesn't flow. It doesn't have a good rhythm. It seems a bit disjointed. It seems a bit bizarre. And when you understand the background of this book, Stephen King was a bit hopped up on a cough syrup. Okay, he doesn't remember writing this book at all. He was high 24/7 on cough syrup. Okay, so he doesn't remember Cujo. And it makes sense why the book is the way that it is. Okay, listen. One major problem with this book. We spend an ungodly amount of time on the marital relationships of these two couples. Okay, way too much. Okay, we have Vic and Donna Trenton, and their relationship marriage is a bit rocky. We find out that Donna cheated on her husband Vic with some guy, and there's so much tension, and will they divorce? What's gonna happen? Will they separate? Blah 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 blah. And and Vic has his doubts, and he is angry. Blah blah blah. And then we have Charity and Joe, and their fucking weird ass marriage, where it's just abuse, and it's just not a marriage that is, I don't know, it's just intimidation and dominance, basically. And this is I understand why Stephen King focuses so much on these two relationships, on these two couples, but I, as a reader, I was just like, I was over it before it even began. Okay, I don't care about these people's marriage. I don't care if they get a divorce. In particular, Charity and Joe, I mean, it's just the worst fucking thing possible. It's just one of those marriages that you're just like, how do these two people get together? My God, they don't have any standards, right? They're fucked up, right? So this is one main issue with this book. There's so much page time spent on marital disputes, and I understand why this occurs. I understand that these two marriages are, a bit of, they're compared to one another. I understand, but it's still too much. Stephen King spent way too much time on these two relationships. Another thing that was just terrible, that has outstayed its welcome. Okay, again, from the perspective of the narrative, I understand why this had to be included and had to be discussed to such lengths. But this thing about Vic and his, cereal campaign, ad campaign, and the cereal, and the cereal with the red dye, and being an ad man, and going to those people and the PR team, and making the commercial, and I was just like, bro, can you stop? Can you just stop with the nonsense, please? right? It was just so redundant and just so, of course, this book was written in a different time, in a different age. I understand that. It shows its age, right? But still, it was just so insufferable, annoying, irritating, obnoxious. All of this cereal and the cereal conglomerate, and oh boy, ad campaigns and commercials, and I'm just like, okay. Let me tell you, Stephen King was sipping on that cough syrup way too much while writing Cujo. I'll leave it at that, okay? Now, there is something that I have to discuss because it is very important. Now, we begin this book with Vic and Donna's kid, Tad, or the Tadder. He seems to be seeing or hallucinating or having a vision of a monster in his closet. And this happens a couple of times, before the actual plot commences. And this monster in the closet kinda seems to be similar to Cujo. And it seems to be a premonition of what will happen soon enough in this book with the rabid dog. So the monster that Tad is seeing in his closet looks like the rabid Cujo. And this rabid Cujo monster hallucination in the closet talks, and it seems to be possessed by this guy called Frank Dodd from the book The Dark Half, also written by Stephen King. So I have to read The Dark Half now to understand the context. But this is what I want to ask, because even after finishing this book, I keep asking, what's going on here? Is this an actual demon monster that materializes in Tad's closet? And is this demon monster possessed by the serial killer Frank Dodd from The Dark Half? Or this is the alternative theory. It seems to me that Tad, the Tadder, it seems to me that maybe he has just a little bit of The Shining. Just a little bit. So, to me, it seems that this monster in the closet might be an omen, an augur, a premonition of things that will transpire because Tadder's it's incipient or innate shining ability is being activated, is awakening, right? But unfortunately, in classic Stephen King fashion, there is absolutely no explanation, there is absolutely no hint, nor clue, nor subtlety at all as to what is really going on here. He just drops this fact and just moves on and never explains anything. And to me, I consider it to be a bit lazy. And let me tell you why. You can't just have something so important, so relevant to what is really going on here, and not even try to explain a little bit. I'm not asking for a full breakdown. I'm not asking for for a treatise, okay? I'm not asking for a book report. I'm asking for a little bite, a little something, a little clue as to what this might be. Is it actually a demon/monster that's being summoned, that is possessed by this Frank Dodd serial killer for whatever reason? Or is this Tad having a premonition of the future that will unfold soon enough? Okay. This needs to be explained, or a little bit at least. You can't just drop something like this and be like this. Well, my job here is done. Okay, I find that to be a bit lazy. I always think that that writers who have these brilliant concepts, but never try to even explain a little bit. I'm not asking for a full breakdown. What could it might be? Because I don't want to spend the rest of my life, analyzing something that has absolutely no clue, wondering what it could be, one or the two. Is it an actual demon monster, or is it a premonition of the future? Because there is absolutely no, Stephen King writes it in a neutral fashion where there is no clue or hint as to which it might be. There is absolutely, in my view at least, there is absolutely no way you can discern what this monster in the closet is, in fact. You can't. You can't. And the problem why I'm so obsessed with this is because Stephen King does it so right. And depending on the actual explanation, depending on what it actually is, it might have serious implications for the grander scheme of things. If it's just a hallucination of the future because of his, awakening shining, then yeah, there are a lot of characters, written by Stephen King that have a bit of shining. It makes sense, whatever. Okay, but if it is an actual demon monster that comes from another dimension into this closet, possessed by the serial killer from the Dark Half, then the implications are serious, boy! Okay, this is some serious stuff we're dealing with here, and I hate the fact that Stephen King doesn't even try to pick one or the other, right? It's because of that cough syrup. I keep telling y'all, right? and another thing that's so infuriating. Of course, Cujo gets bitten by a bat, and he develops rabies and goes berserk. But again, Stephen King does this so excellently. Because Cujo, even though his brains are being rattled by this disease and his brains are slowly melting into just this melting pot of pure chaos and violence and hostility and aggression. Cujo, you could make the argument, yes, he is possessed by this disease and he is helpless to do anything about it. But Stephen King writes it in such a way, Cujo has, let's call it, short internal monologues. And in these short monologues, Cujo, the way that Stephen King writes it, it seems that Cujo might be actually possessed by some sort of evil entity. The rabies are there. The rabies are causing havoc in his body, in his mind. But at the same time, the way Stephen King writes it, maybe unintentionally, it seems like Cujo might be actually possessed by some evil entity, right? And that's crazy, because even here, for one, I can't make the distinction as to what is really going on here, because at the end of this book, Stephen King writes, oh, you see, actually, Cujo, he was actually innocent in all of this. Cujo was just a dog that got crazy because of rabies, because he didn't get vaccinated on time. The end, so casually. And yet, he just washes his hands clean of all of this, like the smooth criminal he is. But it seems to me that when we are dealing with Cujo's internal monologues and his hallucinations while being infected by rabies, it seems that something more is going on. It seems that Cujo is actually being tormented by evil, nefarious forces, okay? but it is written in a certain way that it seems to be just hallucinations caused by the rabies, right? So even here, you can't really make the distinction. You can't differentiate. You can't discern if it's an evil influence or it's just the disease just destroying this dog's brain. Okay? Now, for the final part in this review, listen. The problem is, to me, this book was not scary to me. And this is because, in my view, this is because the book does not flow well. It doesn't have a good rhythm, and the setting itself is a bit sterile. Now, don't get me wrong. The fact that this mother and her child are stuck in a car in the middle of nowhere and they're being constantly persecuted by this giant-ass dog. And let me tell you, this giant-ass dog is a giant-ass dog. Okay? This giant-ass dog, in the movie at least, seems to be capable of eating 2 or 3 tatters. Okay? But let's talk about the setting. Okay? The way this is more of Donna and Tad being trapped in the car. Their supplies are running out. They can't get help. They can't get out. The dog seems to have a supernatural ability to guess when Donna wants to leave the car and get help, right? You know, Tad is getting delusional. Tad is having seizures. Donna gets attacked and gets mauled, and she's infected by rabies, and she's bleeding, and she is bitten all over. And they're stuck in this car. But the problem is, to me, that the setting itself, the atmosphere, is a bit lackluster. To me, I wasn't reading this going like, yo, this is some... There is no tension to me. I'm not sitting at the edge of my seat. Oh my God, what's gonna happen next? What is this dog gonna do next, bro? It's just a big ass dog. You know, keep attacking this car to get at these 2 people. That's all it is. And to me, it seems to me that Stephen King's only failure with this book is that the way that he has created this scene of them being trapped in the car, being circled by Cujo, the atmosphere, the setting, all the props, it's lackluster, it's subpar, it's sterile, it's not that compelling to me. I'm not scared. I'm not shook. I'm not anxious. I'm not nothing. I'm just like, bro, it's just while I was reading, the only thing that popped into my head was, yo, Donna, just do something already, bro. And I would have to end this review with this. Donna Trenton, the mother that is stuck with her son, Tad, in this car, she procrastinates like crazy. Okay, and I understand the fear involved. I understand the situation, the circumstances, the context and the subtext. You know, she has to think about her son first and foremost, and in order to save her son, she has to save herself, of course. So she actually is the main priority here, but she just doesn't do anything until it is too late. Until it is too late, she doesn't do anything. She just stands in the car and slowly, because they stay in this car for so long, their power diminishes, their stamina diminishes. You know, they get weaker and weaker and weaker, and it's so obvious that that Donna will not be able to stand before Cujo and put up a fight. It's so obvious, and she still procrastinates, right? I mean, she does on occasion try to leave the car, and of course Cujo, having some supernatural intuition, just pops out of nowhere and she goes back in the car. But there are moments where Cujo is actually away. There are moments where Cujo is asleep or passed out. There have been plenty of moments of opportunities for Donna to get out of there and do something and get help and be safe and be rescued, something. And she doesn't do it. And when she finally decides to actually bite the bullet, it is one, too late, and secondly, I think the only reason why she became so desperate and finally did something is because she is infected by rabies herself. And yes, at the end, it is proven that she is actually infected by rabies as well. And that is why, to me, that is why she actually bit the bullet and actually did something against Cujo. And as it turns out, they are stuck in this car in front of this house, and it is revealed that the door of this house not only was unlocked, but it also had a phone. So Donna could have done something all along, and I'm not judging her or accusing her of anything. It's just so annoying, right? And of course, the reason why Donna procrastinates so much is because of a plot convenience. If she actually became active and dynamic, there would be no plot, okay? So that is why Donna, unfortunately, wastes her goddamn time, and she stays so long in this car that all of her power and stamina go away, and she's just a mess at the end, right? And, of course, Tad, at the end, dies because he has convulsions, seizures, whatever, and it's too late. He dies, right, because of the seizures. And and the book ends with, Vic and Donna still being together, whatever, and the family that owned Cujo, they get another dog. So yeah, it ain't no biggie, cuz. And this is what I want to say at the end. Tad dies at the end. The monster in his closet said that I'm gonna get you and I'm gonna eat you. And it seems like, to me at least, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it seems to me that this was the actual mission all along. The mission was to make sure that Tad the Tatter doesn't make it out of here alive. Because, and this is just speculation on my part, but it seems to me like Tad, his shining was beginning to awaken. And the monster in the closet, if it is a monster demon, actually, and not just a premonition, the monster was conjured in the closet for this specific reason, to get rid of Tatter, to make sure that Tatter, died. Because this is what it seems, I haven't read every Stephen King book out there, because obviously there are like fucking 9,000 already. But it seems like one of the underlying themes in Stephen King's books is there are people with the shining, with the special abilities. These people are, one, they are food for certain entities, and number two, these special people with special abilities, they're dangerous to evil entities. They can harm, all of these monsters / demons. And it seems to me like there is this crusade or this campaign to find these people with the shining who are just awakening and making sure that they don't mature, that their powers don't mature. This seems to be the actual thing that's going on underneath all of this, right? People with the shining, they're dangerous. They can see monsters. They can harm monsters. Whereas normal people, the NPCs, they're asleep. They are on autopilot. Okay, but that's about it. If you enjoy this content, if you wanna support your boy, I got a few books of my own on Amazon. The link will be down below. Thanks for watching. Keep on reading good books, and see ya.